What's up, guys? Welcome back to Big Yogi's Garage. Today I got Coach Al Thompson. What's up,
How
Al?
you doing, man? How you doing? How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Congratulations. You're the new coach of Cardinal Stritch football. My son goes there. My daughter went there. How's it feel?
Man, it's a blessing on its own to be there and be able to be back. You know, that was my home my senior year after they shut Libby down. So
Okay.
for me, it kind of really hits home to go back and be able to do for others what was done for me.
Okay, so you graduated from there?
I graduated from Cardinal Stritch.
Okay, so you're a Cardinal Stritch alumni. All right. So how did you get the job? Were you searching for the job, or is it something?
So I actually wasn't searching for the job. I was in my previous role as the head coach at Woodward. And things were going all right. We're building our program up, and one day I'm at work. I get an email, or I get a phone call, and it was Cardinal Stritch, but I had two Stritch kids playing for me. So I immediately called back, thinking it had something to do with one of my kids. Something happened or something was going on. So you start freaking out a little bit, like what's going on, and it's like, hey, no, actually, this is we've been seeing you in the news and a lot going on, and we just kind of want to see what it would take to get you here. And I'm like, what do you mean? So long story short, they kind of created a position in the school for me, got me over there, convinced me to come coach there and leave where I was at. And, in that position now, I sub-teach, I help with conflict mediation, kind of whatever's needed on a day-to-day basis. So it's good to be in the building with the kids, able to build that rapport every day. And kids that might not have played football are now definitely probably going to play football, So
That's awesome. And you do have a mental health background to help kids with certain situations, right?
Yeah, so that's a whole different story. But I got about 10 years mental health experience in about 8. I was working for 2 different mental health agencies at the same time for a while there, and kind of really helped build a lot of that up. So I know, and I grew up in a rougher environment. I grew up in the South End and went to Libby, and things weren't always great. So I know what it's like to be the kid that's not the most fortunate in that private school, or I know what it's like to be the kid that anywhere in those settings. So for me, it's about making those kids, everybody feel included and understood more than anything.
Yeah.
So
because the thing is, these kids, we need to help them I'm not saying they have mental health. I'm saying like there's a lot of emotions going on when they're younger, and
a lot of them don't know emotional regulation or any type of coping skills, coping mechanisms. They go flip on music when they're mad or sad, which would be a great coping skill if they're using it the right way. But instead, some of these kids are flipping on music about all this crazy stuff, and then they're wondering why they want to get up and go do some of this stuff too. And I try to explain, you really have to understand what you're putting into your body. It's like that with, everything. But if you feed your body negative energy, you're going to be mad, you're going to be sad, you're going to be depressed. So a lot of that's kind of trying to reframe their minds and show them how to utilize the stuff they already have too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's pretty cool that not only you're a football coach there, but you're also helping the kids. So even kids that don't play football, like my son, he doesn't play football, but you've actually, you teach some of his classes and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've been, his teacher's been out, so I've been in there sub-teaching a little bit. And she has 2 high school classes that I've been covering a lot of. So, that was kind of a good thing for me. And, because I don't know necessarily, if I wasn't in the building, would I have even, met your son or some of these other kids that aren't, trying to play football or like real vocal about playing this sport or that sport, So I try to make it my thing to talk to as many kids as possible every day. From the youngest to the oldest to the most outspoken to the most, introverted. So
he actually told me, I said, I told him I'm interviewing the coach for Cardinal Stritch. He said, oh yeah, he said, I talk to him all the time. And I said, oh yeah, that's awesome. That means a lot to me, man. That means a lot to me. I appreciate you talking to him. And because my son is more like a loner type,
He's a good kid though. Like you could tell he enjoys keeping to himself and he's got his head on straight. So you can tell he's raised right, So kudos to you.
Yeah,
So.
well, his mom really, because I was in and out of his life, but his mom is really the reason why he went to Cardinal Stritch. She didn't want to put him in weight because just like the whole Toledo public schools, and he wasn't like he's more of a lone, like he's more of a just like he isolated type of kid. So she was kind of more, and then my daughter went to Cardinal Stritch already, so she put him out there, and they have a great education out there, man.
And the education is as good as it is because they have that small population too. So they're able to cater those class sizes down to 15 kids in the classroom instead of some of those, depending where you're at in TPS, you might have a class size of 25, 30, 35, or you might not even be able to have certain classes. And like there's a fit for everybody. I'm not saying like, oh, we're the best fit for you, we're the best fit for that, but as a parent, you have to figure out what works best for your child. And like you said, because he is more introverted into himself, a smaller setting like that, less stuff to worry about on a day-to-day basis. They have a very rigorous curriculum, a lot of college ties, a lot of like pathways being created there for them, and a new partnership with like Mercy Health. So like if you were to send your son to school now and he was a freshman, he would graduate if he wanted to go into nursing with everything he would need to be done with the nursing school within the first year to 2 years of college. Yeah, because they got a new partnership with them. Yep. So they like kind of like the credits go towards that kind of stuff, something like that. And then you would be getting college credits, because you can get college credit at any high school, but this is a direct pipeline for a nursing degree. So yeah. My daughter did awesome there. My daughter, she left Cardinal Stritch like her whole first year at UT. All this, she got all paid for scholarships or whatever, grants, all that kind of stuff. And she's like a straight A student. My daughter was a straight A student all through high school, and she's just a great student. So I don't think she ever had a problem. My son was more, had a little bit more trouble with his grades and stuff like that. But boys, I was just like that too. I wasn't very good at grades. Boys were easily distracted once we get to high school. It's harder to stay on task, Yeah. So I was gonna ask you, tell me a little bit about your football experience, because I don't know too much about you, So I played football all through high school. I mean, high school I played a lot of sports, but football was kind of like my true passion, my love. Okay. I graduated from Cardinal Stritch and got a scholarship offer to Concordia University in Ann Arbor. It's a Division II NAIA school, and at the time I got a really good package for an NAIA school. So I had some stuff pretty well taken care of, but some family stuff happened, and family calls, you kind of try to answer. So I came back home and I left that. Probably one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make, is 18-year-old kid up there. Do I stay here and play football, or do I go home help my mom because my siblings need me? And I had a coach, and this has stuck with me forever. So this is part of what pushed me to get into coaching too. He pulled me to the side. He goes, "Hey, I understand. We've been with you through the recruitment process. We kind of know what this is like, what's going on." He goes, "But I want you to think about this, and you make whatever decision you need to make as a man, because that's what you are now." He said to me, "You go home today, you get a job, and you start helping. Does it help? Absolutely." He goes, "But if you were to stay here for 4 years, get a career, where would you be instead? How would you be able to help?" At that time, it didn't resonate with me the way it just did, So like, I've been, since I started coaching, been big on pushing kids to think of the whole picture. But I started coaching football when I was 18, right after I came home. Started coaching junior high football, So right after that, you came home and you just started right into coaching? Yep. And I had one of my mentors I worked with on some housing rehab jobs and stuff, just kind of doing some stuff. And he was my football coach, and he got this job at a mental health facility. And they were working week on, week off. It meant you worked all 80 hours in 1 week, but you were off an entire week the next week. And at 18, I'm like, man, that's a great idea. And they made good money. Well, I found out you couldn't work there until you're 21. So for the next 3 years, I made sure I stayed out of trouble, took care of business, so I could get a job there. So then I took a little break from coaching once I started working there, and then made the jump. to first shift there, so I could coach high school football. I was like, I want to get back to it. I miss it. I love football. I mean, playing flag football still, here and there. It's all fun. But I went and I coached at Cardinal Stritch my first year for free as a volunteer. I put my name out there. A few people told me to hit up this coach, hit up that coach, and I didn't know where to start or how to get started. But finally someone's like, hey, you got to do A, B, C, D, and then you got to submit for your pupil activity permit and all this stuff. So I got it all done. And Stretch was like, hey, we can't pay you this year. I was like, I just want my foot in the door. Someone help me out, So Coach Dudash gave me the job. I was a varsity assistant to start out, offensive line coach, defensive line assistant, helping with all types of day-to-day activities. And it really pushed me. I mean, I remember after that going home, I always had a little goal book of like, I want to bench this, I want to leg press this, I want to squat this, and gave myself timetables. Well, I took it to the next level, put a nice dry erase board up in my bedroom and made my own vision board. And I had a quote on there. I was supposed to change it every day, but you know how stuff happens.
Yeah,
one quote ended up staying up there for the most of the time. And each one side had like immediate goals, short-term goals, one side had long-term. And this is about 5 years ago. I was coaching at Stritch. And my immediate goals was to get to coaches' clinics, to learn whatever I can, and become like more involved in the sense of like maybe a JV offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, And my other goal, long term, was to be a head coach. I figured that was a 5 to 10 year goal. End up going over to Wait, helping out there. Got a job in the school there doing behavioral health services, and I ended up working with Coach Peacock, and we made a state playoff run and everything. Made it to the playoffs, first time in school history, in state playoff history. They have won a national championship, but that was before the playoffs existed. So he made me a JV head coach, so that built my resume up. Well, 3 years of coaching high school football, a couple city league jobs open up. I put in for one, don't get it. Well, that sucks. I put in for another. It's the Woodward job. Now I'm on like a 3-month wait. It felt like 3 months. It's probably realistically a month. Long wait of just trying to figure out what's going on. You're starting to get that anxious feeling that I haven't heard nothing back. Are they going to give it to me? Are they not going to give it to me? Up, down. Get the call one day. Actually, I didn't even get a call. She showed up at the school, the AD, and gave me a Woodward shirt and said, hey, welcome to the family. So like for me, that was huge. So I knocked out what I thought was this long-term 5-10 year goal in 3. Like, man, there's no way. So, you're on cloud 9. So that was kind of what propelled me and got me into now at Stritch. And here we are.
So then you started coaching at Woodward, and then that's how you ended up after you coached your 1 year only?
Yep.
You're the head coach at Woodward. That was your first head coaching position?
First one. And during that, I think we're sitting 0-6, 0-7 when they reached out to me. And I'm like, what? It was rough, but it wasn't rough because like a bad coaching or bad players. We just had a very different mix of a lot of very young first year players, guys that you're talking about guys that were juniors and never played football, guys that are sophomores, freshmen, seniors that never played.
You got to teach them how to tackle.
We had to teach everything. And I honestly expect them to do some decent things this next year because they kept a lot of our coaches together. So, I'm always rooting for those guys, always rooting for the Wait guys. I got kids from Wait that are in college that hit me up still, and they're more like my sons now at this point.
Of course. Yeah, we got to keep rooting for them. It doesn't matter what school you're going to go to, because the thing is, your career has to keep going. Who knows where it's going to lead to? And you're going to have a lot of kids that you know what I mean? It's
and
like
that's kind of, and it is. And like when you coach and I bring guys on, like I was to bring you on, you'd be part of my coaching tree. So I'd want you to be a head coach somewhere because it shows the growth from underneath me and everything else. Like that's a huge accomplishment for me. Absolutely. Getting kids to go to college and play football was a huge thing. And, we played a pivotal role in some of those guys' lives to a point where, I had a kid tell me, Coach L, if I ever ever make it because of football, I'm bringing you along. I need you with me, you know. And you know, kids are up there on campus. Coach Al, can you send me $5? I'm hungry. Man, go. Yeah, I tell them, you need something, let us know, because you know, when you go off, you're not necessarily within a short range from your parents. You know, some kids are 2 hours away, some kids are 3, some kids are 3 minutes up the road. It doesn't matter, but you know, I always wanted those guys to know that, like, when it came down to it, I wasn't just a coach or mentor. Like, they were family. I want them to feel like, hey, if something bad's going on, call me. You know, you need to talk, call me. Like, there's so much stress and pressure on these kids to go to college and do this and do that, that sometimes they have bad days. Because I know I do. I'm sure you do. You know?
Yeah, we all do.
Where days are just like, man, I don't feel like this. I don't feel like that.
I had those a lot.
Let me shut this door and go to sleep, you know?
Yes,
and I want them to always be comfortable with the fact that they can reach out.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a kid, something happened, and he's like, I just need to vent for a minute.
Of course.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Tell me what you need.
Of course, because you got to think their lives are probably stressful at home and with their homework and everything else. And then they can come to you and you can be their peace. Because you got your own problems at home, and we all got our problems at home. But when if a kid comes to you, you can be like the reasonable voice, you know, try to change or help them with this.
And
situation.
Let's be honest, if you were able to talk to any 20-year-old in the world and that needed some advice right now, I'm sure you can give them insight from point A and point B, because, like, we've been there.
Yeah.
Now, we might not have been in that exact scenario,
of course,
but we've been their age and had to make a drastic decision on this or that, or had to deal with a hardship, you know? So
Absolutely.
For us to be able to give insight at any point in time, I'm always suggest to everybody, take somebody under your wing, find somebody.
Yeah.
You don't know how much of a difference it'll make.
I know, man, because I always think, like, I wish I could, I don't know, I always try to look up to people and stuff, but I wish I could have somebody that was, like, you know, just a little bit older than me, just to, like, hey, come on, man, I'm going to show you, you know, the right way to do things, you know, because I feel like we needed that when we were younger.
And so for me, I had a couple football coaches, some that I thought I never liked. But when I got older, I was able to realize, man, he really did the things he did because he cared. And then I had other coaches that never left my side and kind of always mentored us. And like I said, worked on houses, rehabbing them with, was my boss at the group home when we finally got to working out there, you know? So for me to be able to give back to somebody and do the same, that, like, saved me from a bad path. Because if we're honest, I could have been a completely different person than who I am. Like, if my past was able to define me, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. You know? So
yeah, that's crazy. We'd probably be sitting here but telling a whole different kind of story.
Completely different.
Because I want to have conversations with all kinds of people. Yeah. Hey, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about your football philosophy. Like, are you more of a defense? Are you more of a offense? What kind of coaching are you?
So I'm more offensively driven. I played O-line majority of my life. Okay. I played D-line.
Yeah.
But O-line was kind of my passion. I enjoyed it a lot. I like putting points on the board.
Yeah, you like to shoot, you like to pass a lot or run a lot?
So as a lineman, I always like to run.
Yeah.
But understanding where we're at and coming into coaching at Stritch, you got to kind of see who you got, where you can go.
Yeah.
And I think we might be able to actually air it out a little bit here.
Yeah.
Push the tempo.
Because you're building a whole new team. Last year there was no team. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So the previous head coach, something happened. I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't ask too many questions.
Yeah, we don't know.
He got out. He left and went to Central. And then they tried to put the interim AD or the AD at the time into the position. It didn't really work out, and kids didn't have a team. Like, it was just kind of the way everything happened. Like I said, with that timing. Yeah. If you changed coaches right now, it's gonna be hard to get kids back on your side and everything.
Of course.
It's just a very fine-tuned machine in that sense. Anywhere you go. Yeah. So that just kind of it fell through. They tried to push to have like an 8-man football, and then it didn't really work out. But we are an 11-man varsity football team, like the tried and true, real deal 11-man football team. So, I mean, no team at all last year, and that was hard to see and hear about,
Because you weren't there, but you seen it from afar, right?
Yeah, and I had 2 kids from Stritch playing for me because of that.
Oh.
Because say you lived in Bowser District and I lived in Start District, but we went to Stritch because we don't have a football team at the time. We were able to play for our home schools.
Oh, okay.
So that happened. You had a couple kids play at Start, a couple kids play at Clay, a couple kids play at Woodward.
Oh, okay.
So I had 2 offensive linemen come over to Woodward and play for me after everything fell through. Great kids. They're going to do great things this year. One's been out to the Cleveland Browns camp for their college camp that they put on, and we got some more camps coming up for them. But so now we're just building from the bottom up. We had to order 35 new helmets this year, which is a lot. Like most teams get 5 to 10 helmets a year new. We had to buy 35, but partially because when I took over, I wanted to make sure I brought the junior high team along with us and the 5th and 6th grade team too. Because if I'm going to build and have a direct feeder program, I need to make sure those kids are involved in everything too.
Of course.
And when I walked in, we had 43 helmets. Now, a varsity football team, you want 50 kids, so that's not enough already. A junior high team, they didn't have no specific helmets for them. You want at least 25, 30 junior high kids. I need about 70 helmets. So we ordered our 35. And then...
is that what you were doing, the lift-a-thon and all that?
Yeah, that helped cut back on some of that cost that we had. So we bought 35 helmets, and then we had, after reconditioning, 38 more that got painted and redone. So we're sitting at close to 73 helmets now. And then we had to buy new jerseys because, like all good things, they're only good for so long. So our old jerseys, the white ones specifically, were too old for varsity. But like for a junior high, for like an extra travel jersey or something, perfect. So we replaced our white jerseys too. So all in all, we spent a good chunk of money my first month and a half in office.
Yeah, it's a new team though. You want to come out with a new, fresh look too.
And like you want to pay homage to the old. So we replaced our white jerseys and kept it very similar where the numbers were outlined in a certain way. But it's a very pristine, very clean look. The words on the front are one color and the words on the back are a different color. But the stripe down the side is the same color on the front and the same color on the back, just to tie it all together. Nice little modern twist to it, But yeah, and it's one of those things. You want the boys to feel good about playing. You want them to,
of course, like Deion Sanders says.
Yeah, you look good, you play good.
Yeah, you look good, you play good.
And our red and black jerseys are in pretty good shape. Like relatively new. I think they're about 3 years old. So 2 years from now, I'll be buying more. So I'm sure they'll be excited about that.
How do people? Where do people go if they want to help you raise some funds for your equipment and stuff like that?
So the school has a donation thing set up on the website automatically. So if someone wanted to donate anything, hypothetically, I could go into the Stritch website and donate under, my name, put my information towards football, athletics, the weight room. We got a pretty good donation towards the weight room, so we bought all new racks, Rogue racks all over. Benches redone, and we got rid of a lot of the old stuff, so we'll have to get you in there so you can check it out.
Yeah, I want to check it out.
It's
I've never been
completely
in
different from when I was there. But once again, the word of football coming back sparked that interest of people to donate. We had a guy from Germany who was once a head coach over here at Waite. He coaches football in Germany. Send a donation in within 3 days of me being at Stritch, named the head coach.
That's awesome.
So we've received a lot of help, and the community outpour has been phenomenal. I mean,
because
absolutely
we need
great.
that.
Our lift-a-thon, we brought in just under $6,000 was the total.
I know.
And I mean, that was fun. We made a competition. Me and Coach Barrett were back and forth, talking our stuff. Trying to see who could raise the most out of the coaches. Players, I owe a few players some food for what they did. I was originally going to give one player like a B-Dubs lunch at school, but we had an 8th grader raise $600 on his own, and we had a high school kid the last day pull in $400 something. So I thought he had won it, and I had kind of already told him he had won the next day when everything settled and someone made 2 more donations in this other kid's name, I'm like, oh, I guess I hooked both of them up, you know? So
they're the top 2 sellers.
yeah, but like it was great for them because, you know, in a sense, they helped earn, you know, their jersey, their stuff.
Yes, sir.
And it was one of those things where, you know, you just want everyone to feel that much more involved.
Yeah.
If I just put this new helmet and new uniform on you and you never have to work for it in any sense, how much do you appreciate it?
No, you don't appreciate it.
So
it's a good thing you make them work for their stuff so they can like take pride in it.
exactly, and you know, really want that to be the point is like take pride in being who we are, take pride in being a small school. We got a good schedule in front of us that we can go out and really compete. I mean, I studied every team that we put on the schedule.
Yeah.
You know, down to how many kids you graduate versus your record the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, so I wanted to put us in a position to compete because that was one of the longest tasks I had was filling all 10 games because coming back you had to sit out 2 years of league play. So last year would have been the first. This is the second. So we had a completely blank slate of games. You know, we're like I tell the kids we're like Notre Dame. You know, we're non-conference. We just get to pick 10 games.
So how did you even find them?
So
You start
there's some
calling?
resources on the Ohio High School Athletic Association website. There's a Twitter handle out there. It's like Ohio Scheduler. Guy loves Ohio high school football and has a spreadsheet with everyone's games so he could tell where the blanks were and has it all broken down. And he was like a huge help for me when it got down to like, I had got like 6 or 7 games knocked out, but then we still had some that we couldn't find.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey man, what do you got for week 1, 2, 7, 10? He goes, boom, boom, boom. Sends me 30 teams. I'm like, holy crap. So now I have to go do my research again, you know, on all these different teams and see who's a good fit. So
Yeah. Have you ever like, do you look at the analytics of football and all that? Because I've heard some coaching, I heard a coach the other day talking about big on analytics and all that stuff.
yeah, it's all that, like, it's like there's a coach out west, I forget who it is. High
Coach
school
Kelly or
coach.
something.
He's like, he goes for it every single fourth
Yeah,
down.
that's it.
Because hypothetically,
Yeah.
if you give me 4 tries to get 10 yards, I should be able to.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know,
Yeah.
just punting it, like, yeah.
Yeah, there's this guy. I listened to his interviews, Coach Kelly, and he says that he does it because he was trying to figure out why do they punt, and he kept doing his research, and nobody could come down to like the fact of why did they start punting or whatever. And then he said I'm just gonna go for it. So then he just started going for
Well,
it.
yeah. And that's I've had a couple conversations on the headset. Hey, let me flip over to the defensive channel, you know, as an offensive coach. It's 4th and 3.
Yeah.
You know, we got this play. We should be able to get 5 yards. If I go for it, you guys are going to be mad. You're going to be able to get us back.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you got to have faith in your defense if you're going to do that. You know, a strong defense. If I have a really, really good defense that gives up 0 points and, you know, a couple first downs a game, oh, absolutely. We're going to put our foot on our necks and push, you know.
The
just keep going.
dude said he has 11 state titles in 16 years.
That's insane.
He said because if you do the numbers for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games and the hundreds of times that I had to go for it on 4th down, if I'm 60%, that means that, you know, 6 out of whatever times I'm gonna make it. He said, so yeah, I'm gonna fail. People are gonna be mad. I'm gonna get booed. He said, but I did it from the beginning. So I've always gotten booed, so it doesn't bother me. But when I get the first down, everyone cheers.
Yeah, they go nuts.
Yeah.
But I mean, that right there is like life.
Yeah.
If you do something and it's not perceived to be amazing, you don't hear as much. But when you do great and, you know, everyone wants to come celebrate.
Of course.
So, but yeah, no, it's football, it's a madhouse.
It's
the
like
coach you see now is not what you see on the sideline. So my fiance, when she started coming to games last year, I had to apologize to her. I'm like, you might see see me a little crazy over there, but
Of course, because like it's so easy for me to say, yeah, to go for it on 4th down, but you got to be in the moment and get the feeling. Do you have the momentum? Do they have the momentum?
We had a first-year football player last year. He ended up playing kicker. His name was Paulino. Great kid, one of my favorite seniors I've ever had, just because he had a whole lot going on. He worked 2 jobs, played soccer, and played football as a senior. And he was like, ran for class president, like all this other stuff. Great dude. And he's like, Coach, I want to play football. I've never played. What do I do? I was like, well, I see you at soccer. You got a boot. We have no kicker, like no kickoff kicker, no field goal kicker, no punter. And Lino comes in. But the kids like that, they don't know any different, so they trust what you're coaching.
Yeah.
And we're playing, I forget who we were playing, and we call for a punt, and he said he was just feeling it. And next thing you know, he fakes the punt and runs up the sideline for 25 yards, and we only needed 15.
Oh, so you got the first down?
He gets obliterated, smoked. There was a penalty called. It got called back. So we actually had to punt it. But he got the first down. I mean, we were going insane. He was going insane on the sideline with me. I was like, Lena, what the hell?
What made you do that?
He goes, I don't know, Coach. I had a feeling. We needed the first down. I was like, you're a madman. I love it. I absolutely love it, you know. But this is the same kid that I put on the offensive line halfway through the season because we had guys injured and, you know, people out. And I knew that if I told him, you stay in front of this person, he would stay in front of that person. And he played well, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it was just...
That's awesome.
Like you said, sometimes you got a feeling.
You got to play. Hey, so that's like a Troy Polamalu. Remember Troy? I don't know if you I like the Steelers.
I'm a huge Steelers fan.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Remember when we used to play Baltimore, he could just he had a feeling and he would just jump over the line.
Time it so
and
good.
And he would get Joe Flacco and tackle him.
Just rip him backwards and out of nowhere.
Remember he used to catch the ball just going like this.
I remember he got one interception like that off of somebody's toe. It just got kicked up and he slid underneath. Yeah. And all you see is hair running for 30 yards.
It seems like it was always Baltimore. All them good plays it was Baltimore. Hey, okay, so how did you fall in love with football? How did you fall in love with coaching?
Man, my uncle was a Steelers fan. My dad was a Bengals fan. And I was at my uncle's a lot and watching football. I have another uncle who's a Colts fan. So everyone loved football. But I had family that was coaching football and I started to play. And I didn't play it right away in junior high. Didn't really, I don't know, just wasn't for me yet. But in high school, I needed a getaway. I was going through a lot in the sense. And when I got to football, everything disappeared. Not just was gone, but you step on a field on a practice, anything. You don't have your phone in your hand. You don't know what's going on. You don't know who's arguing with who 2 blocks away. You know nothing besides practice. And I better run because this coach is on me. So it just takes you to a whole different place. Even to this day, to go out and coach, everything gets zoned out. After about 3:30 on a game day, I don't really talk to too many people just because I can't. I need to focus. I need to be, just like the kids need to be locked in, I need to be locked in. And, once we start pregame, everything outside is gone. And pregame will start usually about 4:45, 5 o'clock, depending if it's home away, sometimes a little later. And it truly is a beautiful thing to just, you're not stressed about nothing. You're not worried about nothing. You could have had a huge fight with your significant other right before, but
so you were finding to love the game through the peace.
Peace.
You were getting you were finding I do when I work out. When I work out, I found a little peace.
It was
that's how you started loving the game.
That's what changed it for me, and it brought me so many opportunities, and it brought me so many friends and so many people that I know was because of football. And if I look back on so many things, how do you know this person? How do you know that person? Well, football. What football? Well, high school, you know, semi-pro. I met this guy when I was at that college for a little bit. I met this guy playing flag. I met this guy coaching against this guy, coaching with this guy. Like, football brought me job opportunities. It brought me leadership skills. It brought me, you know, it taught me how to be a man. You had to be able to follow direction. You had to be able to be at the lowest point, like on some of those real bad days, those tough losses. It took me to the highs. It took me to winning. It took me to, you know, every bit of that. And it just, when I'm on a football field, everything stops and I'm at peace. And that's where, like you said, you're just there.
Do you find it like a stress reliever? Like when you're, you know how me and you've played it. I don't remember, but I'm sure we played flag football together, so we've probably blocked. So do you find that stress reliever when I'm blocking you and you're blocking me? I'm trying to run you over. You're trying, and we're pushing and shoving. But you know what I mean? You're getting that aggression out. But then at the end, it's like we can hug and be like, "Good game."
Oh,
man.
absolutely. I mean,
because we're
playing O-line, D-line, especially even still in flag football, there's no pads. It's all physical. So for me, you're coming to rush me and I'm able to shoot my hands and punch you in the chest. I'm doing it as hard as I can. I know, not thinking anything of it. It's not to hurt you. It's just to go through the running of it, the blocking of it. You're going to get a good move off on me one time. I mean, I had a guy elbow me across the forehead and cut me. And I'm like, he ended up being one of my closest friends. Like, we became so cool after it. So every once in a while, we still talk about it. But it was just like, in the moment, you don't care. And it's just so, like, thrilling and, like, you're locked in. You just want to, let's be honest, if football was a way to beat on somebody in front of you without getting in any trouble, you know? So if you needed to let that anger out, that stress out, like, it was there. You know? I mean,
that's
you're able to release everything.
That's I only played a little bit of football in not even junior high, in like elementary, like, you know, and then in high school I never had the grades. I always wanted to play, but every time I didn't have the grades. So when I used to work at Norplas, and a couple of my buddies started a flag football. Zach, he used to coach down there. And he was a coach, like, at a flag football team. And he said, "Hey, yo, come down here." And I was like, "What? This?" And then I started being a lineman, man. And I loved it because just like people pushing me and shoving me, and then me getting that aggression out. And then sometimes, you know, arguing and fighting with them or whatever. But at the end of the day, it was just like for fun. And we don't have to have like a beef for the end of the world over it or nothing.
Man, I can tell you, my senior year, we played a team called Plymouth Christian. They brought like 15 guys down to play us. We paid them because in high school, sometimes when you have teams that have to travel, you kind of help cover expenses like that. And this team came down. We only played 2.5 quarters, the seniors. I mean, it was the biggest win in Stritch history at the time, I think. And I remember one play. I'm going to block. I play center. So I snap the ball. Boom, we're going. I'm going next level. It's a run play. I'm looking around, don't see no linebacker, so I just kind of shoot my hands off, boom, go to the next level. I get all the way to the third level where the safety is, and I see this kid coming down trying to make a tackle, and I obliterated him. And I didn't think anything of it. Finished the game. After the game, this person comes up to me, and they're probably half my size. It's like, good game, man. And I'm like, oh, that's that safety I got. And, you know, you're not thinking anything. It's just pure adrenaline, pure go. I was taught to go all the way through, coach to go through, but like I remember that vividly, all the way down. You know, I remember, you know, different experiences as a coach. I remember beating Woodward at Woodward when I was coaching for weight, and then turning around and losing to them in the City League playoffs. Like, you remember the highs, the lows, and then like I also had great coaches who pushed me to do more, who pushed me to be better. You know. There's some coaches to this day that I still owe a lot of thanks to for keeping me in line, for, you know, doing so many things for. Like, there's so many unwritten things that coaches do that you're never thanked for, but you also never expect it. You know?
What's your biggest like memory, or like what's your biggest memory that you got, or like just tell me a cool memory of your coaching career so far. Something that no one probably knows or something.
So I'll go back a few years to weight. I touched base on just a little bit. We beat Woodward regular season. We go to the City League playoffs. This is that COVID year where everything's crazy. We go City League playoffs. We're beating Woodward 24-14. We go into half, and we end up losing. All right. And it was a tough loss. We were all upset, coaches, players, everybody. We had a kid get hurt. The next day, 2 of my football players text me, all right, Coach Al, that's enough. That season's done. Let's go to the gym. So 2 offensive linemen, they're juniors, going to be seniors. One plays college football now. Hit me up, and they're like, we got to go. We want to get ready. We don't ever want to lose like that again. So we went to the gym, and we spent about 3.5 hours there working everything from free weights to sleds to blocking technique.
Yeah, they felt embarrassed, huh? Or something, you know, they felt
it was the sense of
the fire.
They're the seniors now.
Yeah.
And they wanted to lead and be better. And that senior group kind of holds a spot close to home, you know.
Yes, sir.
I was able to be with them for a while, and, you know, just kind of, I don't know, that, like, their senior night, that last game.
Yeah.
I ain't ever think I was going to cry because some kids were done playing high school football, especially kids that weren't mine.
Yeah.
Man, one kid walked up to me, hugged me, and said, Coach Al, thank you. I was like, for what? He goes, you're the only reason I'm playing football.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh? What'd you say? You know? It's one of those, like, no, there's no way. And then the next kid comes up and he says something along these lines of, you know, you really got me to want to be here, and you really pushed me, you know, for this. And, you know, one kid's mom, every time we see him, you know, you're this kid's dad, even though you never, you know, he has a dad, but, like, you're his bonus, you know? So it just really, really hit home how much of an impact we have with everybody, you know?
Of course.
And to me, like I said, those relationships still resonate every day. You know, kids text me today, hey, we're in town on break. Let's go to the gym tomorrow. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's awesome, Coach. Because you know what, Coach? You're one person, right? But how many kids do you have on your team, Coach? Like the whole thing?
Right now, about 32.
Okay, so you got to understand, every game, you're going to get one memory, right? But you're creating 32 memories for each one of those kids, Coach. Each one of those kids is every one of those kids has a memory from every game, a loss, a win, whatever happens in that game. You got your memory, right? But each one of them got their memory. Each one of them is so special. Each one of them kids is going to think for years and years and years and years, they're going to be telling Al Bundy stories and about you. You're part of their story.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, your name's Al, but you know what I mean? Like, I was thinking Al Bundy and then your name's Al, so I'm like, yeah, they're all gonna have this story where they went to high school and their coach and this, and they won the game and they lost the game, and that's just gonna go on forever. And then every year you're gonna have 30, 40, 50 kids from ever since you started coaching. You're building all these men, all these great stories, and you're part of every single one of them.
And my part, in my eyes, is only this big, but in their eyes, it's this. And that's crazy to think about because I've never thought about it in the perspective of me and you could play the same game, but our memories are completely different.
Yes, sir. Every single one. And guess what? Every single one of those kids has a different opinion of you. Every single one of them can look at you like, one of them might think, he's an asshole. One of them might think he's the nicest coach I've ever had. One of them might think, man, he's the best coach I've ever had. One of them might think, he's a little bit too much this. You got to think every single one of them sees you in their own different eyes through their own life experience. So it's cool. It's all individual people. It's crazy.
But see, and that's also, like, we have a pretty big coaching staff. And I only want guys on my staff that are coachable themselves because I'm not perfect as a coach. Yeah. I don't know everything as a coach. I need to learn from my coaches just like they need to learn from me. That way we could be the best version of ourselves for each one of those kids that we work with. Yeah,
you have one of my friends, Justin Berry. I've known him since I was younger. Me and him went to Oakdale together. And he's a very good coach, a very good father.
Me, him, and Lloyd Donaldson all coached together at Wait on that first state playoff team.
Okay.
So for us, it's kind of like getting the boys back together, you know. Justin's going to be our offensive coordinator. Lloyd's going to be our assistant defensive coordinator.
Okay.
He's going to help with the D-line and the O-line. So, like, for me, you know, being able to bring family along with you in a sense, because I didn't know those guys before I came to Wait for real, but like it means so much more, and that's kind of like this says all in.
Yeah,
and that's
awesome.
we're all in this year. We're doing everything we can from the
that's
the new coaching staff,
I like
bringing
that
that mentality in.
How you highlighted the all in. Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
But that was kind of like every year you try to have a mantra for your team, like something that it is. And this one, it just kind of made sense already.
Yeah.
We're starting from nothing, so
I wanted to ask you. We're actually talking about exactly what I wanted to ask you about. How do you build a good culture, a good relationship with your players? Like, how do you build that?
It starts. So there's a fine line. You have to be able to be cool with your players, but also you have to be able to discipline and lead and mentor. So like you have to be able to build rapport. And what I mean by that is building relationships. Like you have to know a little something about each player. Because like if I just call you Yogi every day and I know nothing about you, well, when I say Yogi, I need you to run through this wall. You're like, what?
Yeah.
But if I know everything about you and I'm like, I trust you, I believe in you, I got faith in you, we've been doing this, go. You're gonna get up and you're just gonna go. But a lot of the culture is like, you have to instill in those guys, we need you here, we need you doing this, we need you giving back to the community. When we go to all team mass, we need you there for that. We need to sit and pray together. We need to sit and believe together. We need to eat together. We need to have different team bondings where we're, I want to do a big old Madden tournament with all the guys and pizza.
Oh, yeah.
They're still being teens, they're still able to play the game together and eat pizza, but at the same time, they don't realize they're bonding on a different level. So when they go out there, they trust and believe in the guy next to them to do their job. Because you can't go out there with one guy thinking that this guy's not going to do this, So that's the biggest piece of the culture is getting everyone bought in, getting everyone on board, getting everyone to believe in each other, to believe in the coaches, Right now, we're in a really good place. All like the faculty and the community, they're all in on everything we do. I don't think I've been able to say anything without them supporting it yet. So it's a great feeling. The kids notice that, Like I said, I mean, potentially this year I have 20 seniors playing. And probably about 7 of them never played football in their life, but they want to be a part of this because they can feel it, and they want it. So like you shared the other day something about their baseball team 6-0. 6-0. They look like a bunch of studs too, like a first time in school history. I mean, we got kids. Are some of them going to play football too? Yeah. Yeah. So every one of them, besides the seniors, are playing. Yeah. That's awesome. Like that is great for me. Yeah. Because if they're good at baseball, they got some good. But so the basketball team had a really good run. They made it to regionals at BG against Otto Glandorf, who was a state semifinalist, or they came in second place in the state last year. So they lost to them. That was a tough loss, but that strong basketball program is now rolling over into baseball. We get baseball to roll over into football, then football rolls back over into basketball. So you create that environment in the entire school. And, it's, for me, looking at it, it's a really good place to be a freshman or a sophomore at. Why? Because you're getting varsity experience no matter what. Now, as a parent, it's scary because you're like, oh, my son's 13, 14, maybe 15, and he's playing against some of these kids that are older, but they're not just being thrown to the wolves, We're instilling in them, like, you need to be at weightlifting, you need to be in the off-season conditioning, and, we just brought in our own strength and conditioning coach and program now. So we have an app at the school where every kid has their own access to it. It tracks their workouts. You go on there and they click on your day, and you have everything laid out for you. They put Wi-Fi in the weight room for them so they could use it because we didn't have good signal. And in the varsity athletes, next year, you'll have that as your class. So to be a high school athlete now, I have strength and conditioning on my schedule as a fitness class, personal fitness class, is insane. Yeah, that's awesome. Like, I would have loved, instead of taking gym where I have to do the pacer test and play basketball every other day, I have a true, okay, this is what we're doing. This is your personal fitness class, teaching me, how to eat, all this stuff, macros, and, how to lift weights the proper way. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the best.
So basically, just building a rapport with the kids and getting to know them personal, and then that's how you build good relationships with them. Having like the stuff in the school for them to build a good relationship with the coaches in the school system.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
They got to buy into you just like you got to buy into them.
So football's back at Cardinal Stritch.
It's back. We're running. We're going.
That's awesome. All right, so I wanted to ask you, how do you balance your teaching, your coaching, and your family life?
So during football season, friends kind of understand, like, hey, we ain't gonna hear from him as much.
Yeah.
It's never nothing, out of that.
Nothing personal.
Me and my fiance though, every game, after every game, we go out together, sit down, have dinner somewhere, enjoy a drink together somewhere, something, because it helps me decompress too, win or loss.
Okay.
But she was very involved all season. I try to keep her in the loop with everything. I try to make football not be a task for everybody. So like as a coach, I don't want my kid I know as an assistant coach and now as a head coach, my fiance don't want me at a 4 or 5 hour practice every day. If I was a parent, I wouldn't want my kids at a 4 or 5 hour practice every day. So I need to maximize my time coaching, which is easier to do now that we have our own strength and conditioning program, because I'll have them for a little bit. And then I just do offense, defense, special teams, hitting, whatever. So I'll be able to use like a 2 hour window, 2.5 hour window daily to get everything we need done, which is huge because that means I still have time to go home at night, sit down, have a dinner. I've been on staff before where I've been ripping and running and didn't have time for a social life of any extent. And it's like, well, let me just stop and get a burrito from Taco Bell on the way home, or stop and get this, or just go home and go to sleep because I ain't even got the feeling to go eat, But being in the school and sub-teaching and everything else, it helps me with the rapport building. So like I don't have to balance that as much because that is my job. So really it's just that after school time and making sure I utilize everything. Try to get as much coaching and stuff done as I can, and then try to make sure every day when I get home that I'm not fielding a bunch of phone calls about football late at night and stuff. So that way I can still give my undivided attention to my fiance and whoever else we might be with for the night, or, nieces, nephews, mom, So you really do have to find your balance and find what's comfortable and understand that, we're going to have some long days.
Yeah, it's hard for me too.
You still got to make time.
Yeah, it's hard for me. I wake up at 4, I work out, then I have my business, and then I want to make some time for my wife, and so it's just a lot. We just got to try to balance, and then when we're like when we're with our kids or wives, try to focus on them and not try to stay away from all the other stuff.
Yeah, you definitely got to take sacrifices on. Some days I might not be able to do this because we definitely got to buckle down and spend some time with some people. So
okay. What was I gonna ask you? Advice. Okay, yeah. Advice about if anybody wants to be like me. I've always thought about being a coach or something like that. What kind of advice? I'm too busy right now, but what kind of advice would you give to somebody that would want to be a coach? Or
so just to start out, I think everyone should get their feet wet. At some point, it's not always easy to jump into high school coaching right away. But you could start getting certifications done now, right? Because they're good for 3 years. So realistically, if I knew I wanted to start coaching, I would start making myself marketable. Like if I had no coaching at all right now and didn't know, I would make myself marketable by going on to the Ohio High School Athletic Association website or the Ohio Federation of High School Coaches and doing like they have the concussion test, the sudden cardiac arrest, first aid, CPR you need. There is your pupil activity permit that's needed, a fundamentals of coaching class and that one's pretty long. It's a good 4 or 5 hour class. But you go through there, you get all these certificates and stuff, and then you submit it to the state for a licensure, which is your pupil activity permit. And you got to make sure you got a clear background and stuff for the high school level. Junior high, they're a little bit more lenient on certain things. But you get all that stuff done, and then it's easier to say, hey, I see on the TPS website that Rogers is hiring 2 assistant coaches. I got A, B, C, and D done. I'm a top candidate already just because I'm already credentialed. Now, if you have experience, my suggestion is get more.
Yeah.
YouTube, coaches put so many great resources and videos out there of like different drills, different techniques. Know your position. You don't see me teaching wide receivers how to be a wide receiver. You know, I'm not a wide receiver. I love to teach guys to block, but I actually can coach wide receivers because I've studied so much now, you know, and I've studied so much about being an offensive coordinator and studied so much on defense because I know I lacked on defense. So now I need to sharpen up my defensive skills. Going to coaches clinics is huge. Ohio State does one every year. I mean, all the major colleges do, but Ohio State, you go to their coaches clinic. It's coming up next week, actually. You go there. It's a 2-day thing. I think it's like $50. They treat you to dinner and everything. You get spring game tickets out of it. You go to the sidelines and watch them coach. And that just learning from other coaches, because, you know, what I learned at Waite was different from what I learned at Stritch, which was different than what I did at Woodward, and learned from my Woodward coaches, and becoming a melting pot of all of it. So getting credentialed, you know, finding resources of who's got open spots. Checking the TPS website is great because there's always coaching openings posted there if they can't find them. And then just getting in contact with coaches. You know a coach, reach out, hey, what schools do you know need somebody? I want to volunteer this year. Volunteer to help with video recording every year. We always need help with stuff, you know. So there's always a way to get started and get your foot in the door, even if you don't have those credentials yet.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking earlier when you were saying about how your school is like a smaller school, and players will probably get a lot more playing time, so there'll be a lot more film. And like a lot right now, like if you're at the big high school, and you're like a freshman, and you're not gonna get that many. So your videos, you're not gonna get that much. Like you know how people advertise. Like right now, social media is big. So you want to get as much video out there, even though you might not be the best. But like in the next like colleges and stuff, they want to see all that stuff.
If we're honest, it's hard to go to the next level and play sports. So I've also started explaining to kids is like, say you're a freshman, you start out, you got $40,000 in your pocket. Every time you get an F, you lose $5,000 out your pocket. That's gonna start hurting.
Yes, sir.
But then they have to sit and realize, like, what is he talking about? It sounds crazy. You're giving me $40,000. No. You walk in with a clean slate because your 8th grade grades don't matter no more. You could have had all A's. But every time you let your grades drop, your chances at scholarship money drops. You know. And colleges can recruit so many kids at each spot. You know, there's only so many scholarships. So you could be the best football player in Northwest Ohio, but if you got a 2.0 GPA, you ain't going anywhere. You got a 2.5, you can go to about 35 to 45% of all colleges. Now you get a 3.0, you're talking about 75 to 80% of colleges. 4.0, you still might not be able to get into the Ivy League schools, but you're accepted pretty much everywhere, you know? So I really kind of try to push that to the guys because the small school will be able to have film. We'll be able to, you know, put together some highlight tapes. I got a couple coaches that have just recently went through, you know, the recruitment process and stuff, so they know how to help you out. So we'll be able to sit down with our boys, build them up a nice tape. I got some coaches. We had one call or email me 2 days ago about coming out and talking to them. So a little Division II school. You know, I try to tell guys that's a great route to go. Great route because they're still able to give athletic scholarships. They're still able to give scholarships for grades, obviously academics. And you know, we got a kid that's got a 4.4 GPA who's on that baseball team. Insane at bat, and he nuked the ball at practice into the storage units behind Stritch. But he probably won't even play football, or like in college or any sports. He wants to be a doctor, but also to do that, what do you need? You need to have good grades.
You need to have an
education. we kind of explain that we can get you into any school in the world if you can. So like there's Division III, there's Division II, Division I, there's NAIA, there's JUCO, you know, and all those have their own different breakdowns.
Of course.
So you got somewhere and you can tell me, we sit down with our kids and we do, pick out 4 Division I schools that you would like to go to. Pick 4 D2, pick 4 D3, pick 4 NAIA, pick 4 JUCO. All right, these are the schools we're going to target. I'll find these coaches. I'll start sending your stuff out. Okay. But we have to also be realistic, you know. The college game is it's a game in the sense of like chess, because I can't be 6'1" or 6'2" and want to play left tackle at Ohio State. Yeah. Those boys are 6'7", 6'8".
Like 3-something, 400.
Now, huge. I could be 6'2", maybe at a small D3 and play left tackle, because those boys are all different heights. Yeah. But like, they won't come to you for certain things, you know? And there's a lot that you got to learn, like coaching wise, to be able to market to your kids. Like, I know for sure I got a couple Division II clearinghouse, kids that fit that offensive line mold of being a center guard out there. They're 6'2", 6'3", about 300 pounds. Some of them have like a 4.1, some of them are like a 3.2. Like, they'll clear everything and be able to go there. So those are the schools we'll target. We ain't gonna go, try to call Nick Saban at Bama. Hey, come here, I got a 6 foot tall offensive lineman for you.
Yeah, because like you got to be realistic. Like, you're only like 5'9", you're not gonna make it to the NFL. Like, you say you're a lineman and you're doing really good, but you might not. You're not tall enough. You're not big enough. So you got to get your education, because you might end up having to become like a realtor or something, like, you know what I mean, or something else. I don't know. I was just throwing the thing
I know
out
a lot of guys that are realtors that make a lot of great money. I know guys that are electricians that make great money. So and college isn't the option for everybody.
Of course,
trade school is great. Yeah, I mean. But that's why I think it's important for us as coaches to sit down and do vision boards with kids and do some career planning and mapping, Because as a parent, I don't have kids right now, but like, I don't know if I'd have time necessarily in my day-to-day with everything else going on to sit down. All right, well, what are we doing? What's your goal? And as a freshman, you don't know to think that far ahead. Yeah. You're not. So our role has grown that much more in the sense of what can we do? How can we help people? Yeah. Talking about kids,
how do you prepare young men to overcome like adversity on a big game? Let's say you're going to go to like, whatever, the championship, and you guys lose. How do you prepare them to fight, you know what I mean? That loss is like a big loss. Sometimes people they get really stressed out. What would you say to a kid, or how do you prepare them for that?
I think that preparation is done long before that game's played. If we're being honest, stuff like that we prepare for in the off season, in life. I mean, last season I had 2 or 3 kids lose a loved one during the season, you know? So a game loss means nothing, you know?
So that's real adversity.
So like real adversity. And that's, just teaching them and being able to uplift them. And, I learned this in the mental health field and, learned this, watching people parent. You have to be able to break somebody down when they do wrong, but you also have to be able to build them back up. And that's what builds that trust. That's what builds them being able to cope and manage in those hard times. If I just go, oh, Yogi, you messed up, you did this, this, and this, I'm so mad at you, I'm sick of this, you keep doing this. And I never talk about, well, even though you did this is the first time you did this in 6 months, man, you've been doing great. We can't let this one time mess us up completely. This 6 months of, great behavior, getting all A's and doing this, and yeah, you messed up and got suspended today, but we can't dwell on it too hard. So that's that piece that you always have to come back to.
Yeah, be understanding, be their peace.
So, and then, when you have those hard losses in games that should be won or games that could be won, I never put a blame on a player. I never want a player to think that it's their fault or it's that, I'll be the first one to step to the front of the course. Hey, you know what? I should have done this. I should have realized, maybe you were gassed. And the reason you weren't doing this was because I just kept pushing you and you weren't ready yet. But that's okay, because we'll prepare for that. We'll do a little extra running and conditioning to get ourselves in better shape. That way we know what this tastes like and we never have to feel it again.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wanted to, okay, so we've been talking for about an hour or so. I always end my podcast on like dreams and goals. So I want to know, what are your plans for the future of Cardinal Stritch football?
My plans are to build up the varsity program, stage 1. Everything I'm doing is in stages. I want to build up the varsity program, get the junior high brought along, build them up, build up our 5th and 6th grade programs. That way it's a sustainable feeder all the way through. Our goal this year, make state playoffs.
Okay.
Year 1, first time back, our goal is to make the state playoffs, flat out. Take them where they haven't went before, build up to eventually, hopefully we win a state championship under my, my leadership. Build up those kids, get kids into college, get kids involved more in community stuff and involved more just in sports and everything else. And that way we can hold them accountable, help make sure those kids' grades are going good. If a parent calls me and says, hey, Coach Al, so-and-so's doing terrible at home. I don't know if they can come to practice. Letting the parents know, go ahead, send them. I'll deal with them. We'll sit down, we'll have some talks. I'll help out. Just being a pillar in the community in that sense too. So I really want to build it up and make sure, when my time comes to leave there, Stritch football is still a thing, and it wasn't just because I was there and I was the lifeline,
Yeah.
So my goal is to really just completely do a massive rebuild and make it be something that the entire community could be proud of for years to come.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mary. Al, I want to thank you very much for coming on Big Yogi's Garage. I appreciate it so much.
It was a great time, man.
We're gonna have you on, and then anytime, and also I want to help promote your players. So if you see any of them that are pretty talkative, or maybe they want to be on a podcast, I can have them on. They can tell their little story about how they became a football player, and they can practice on media, because maybe one day they're gonna need that too.
Hopefully they need to go to the NFL.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you so much. All right, guys. See you next week on Big Yogi's Garage.